Hello, everybody. It's Jared, the non-alcoholic aficionado, here with Rob from Generation NA. We're going to be tasting some NA beer. I've got the Street Cred from Go Brewing and the Collective Arts Emerald Stout to compare since we're getting into the colder part of the year with fall and winter around the corner. Rob, what are you drinking?
Hey, what's up, Jared? Thanks for having me today. I have the Sunshine State Tropical IPA from Go Brewing. I also have the Juicy IPA from Untitled Art.
Very cool. I think it's fun that we've both got very similar beers to compare, but completely different from each other. I've got a fun glass here. This is the little bit of head you're going to get from that Street Cred from Go Brewing. It's super dark. It's got a vanilla note to it. The can says outright dark brew with rich vanilla. It's there. Is that the, what do you have, the Sunshine or the Collective
So I
or
guess,
the
yeah, I got the Juicy. We have plastic cups here, so the health department doesn't come down on us, so nothing fancy. But yeah, I have the Juicy. This was one of my first IPAs that I tried. I mean, about
nice.
2 years ago now, and it's still one of my favorites. I know there's been a lot of IPAs specifically in the non-alc space. I don't know why. Maybe it's an easier style or just a popular style, but for me, it still reminds me of kind of early on in my journey with sobriety and also with Generation NA, which is it's kind of comforting to me, and honestly, it just tastes really good too.
I love it. I'm all about that nostalgia. Cheers, Rob.
Cheers, Jared. Absolutely.
So you mentioned Generation NA. I know about it, but I don't know if the people on the channel watching this video all know about it. So what's the rundown? I know you guys are you're making waves these days.
I appreciate that, my man. I started Generation NA about two and a half years ago, right? So I was one of those people that liked alcohol, and then COVID hit, and I was working in tech, and I started loving alcohol a little bit too much, and I started to have some health problems with it. So I wanted to kind of take a step back and reevaluate my relationship and kind of where things were going with it, and wanting to be a better person, a better husband, better father, better business owner. I own a tech agency, had about 17 employees working for me during the beginning of COVID. And it was pretty hard, man. It was pretty stressful, like a lot of people, not just with the pandemic, but with what was going on. So cut back alcohol and didn't really know about the NA space until my wife bought me actually a 6-pack of it was like Run Wild from Athletic Brewing. And I tried it, and I had to kind of check the package a couple times and confirm that it was non-alc. It was just unlike anything I'd ever had before. It was not a Heineken or no Duels or anything like that. And I was like, man, this is really good. So got into them. This was before Go Brewing even existed, right? So Athletic was out there. I think Brabus was out there.
Yeah.
Coors was doing like a Coors Edge. I was kind of a Miller Lite guy, so I kind of got into that. And one day I just decided to start an Instagram page and rate and review beers. I was able to get nabeer.com, or sorry, Athletic had nabeer.com. I was able to register na.beer. So I started a little, website, and just eventually just linked that to our Instagram channel. But the thing I noticed earlier on was like the engagement. Like a lot of people were liking and sharing and asking me about these beers. So I thought, man, I wonder if there's more people like me out there that are looking for non-alcoholic options, wanting to take a break. And so, I asked my wife one day if she'd be cool if I opened a non-alcoholic bottle shop inside of my tech agency, and she kind of laughed at me and didn't know I was serious. And I was like, no, I was like, I have this business. It's during COVID. It was a big building, right? It was like 6,000 square feet, and it was a warehouse. And there was 2 of us that were working from that during COVID. So we had a bar upstairs that wasn't being used. It was really easy, right? So I went online. I got like a Fair account. This was before Air Goods was even out too. So I registered with Fair. I ordered like 10 cases of beer. I brought in some stuff from my house. I bought a case of wine. It was Shirley, and a case of Ritual. These were one of the, there weren't that many brands around 3 years ago. Yep. So I made an Instagram post. Didn't know what to expect, because not only was like this in an office building, but it was on like the 3rd floor. Like you had to go into like a back of the building, into a bank, up an elevator, into my like web development office, walk up a flight of stairs into this loft. And I was like, dude, I was like, I don't think anyone's gonna come. I'm just gonna end up drinking this stuff myself. But I mean, I was like maybe $700 all in. Right? Like people are like, how much did you spend to open your shop? And I'm like, $700. I did have the space, which was helpful. We had 35 people show up that first day, and we were only open Fridays. And every Friday after that, for the first 5 months, we would have more people come and see us. So ultimately, I decided that I needed to get an office that worked for both my tech business and Generation NA. And that required me taking that company virtual. So I actually, I have, servers in the background. I'm in the back stock room of Generation NA. We're in our retail shop now. So I got a space that serves both our retail needs on Main Street for foot traffic. And then I have a space that I can, have our, development servers, GitLab servers. And I also just kind of work out at the bar on like my 9 to 5 tech gig. But we've been in this space for a little over 2 years. And as you've probably seen on like Instagram, for those that follow us, the response has been overwhelming. Like, honestly, I've had to scale my business back. We have my other business, my agency, to 9 people, which is fine. That's fine. I mean, right now we can just focus on taking in the best accounts. We don't have to just take in accounts just to keep that amount of people busy. So it's a lot less stress. I've been able to develop a lot of personal skills along the way. Like, I was really bad during COVID at doing things like this, like talking to people and like not just being in a computer. So I really kind of pushed myself to be better at speaking, because I'm a computer guy. A lot of people don't realize that. They think, I'm outgoing and I'm a beverage guy, and I have no background in any of this. I went to school at Purdue for computer graphics. I'm a behind the scene computer guy that is now like the face of this brand that's pretty big in the non-alc space. And it freaks me out a little bit, but honestly, I love it. And I love helping people out. And that's kind of it in like a really condensed, kind of 2.5, 3 year path that we've taken here.
That's so cool. And being a 1 year non-veteran in this NA world, I've seen your posts and your page and everything that you guys have going on, all the stuff you have on draft, which I'm super jealous of, and the exclusive stuff that you get. And it's just kind of fun to see what's possible in the NA beer and NA beverage world. Curious, Rob, as you look at where you're at now and where you were 2 years ago, what stands out as like the biggest change? Like what took place to like take you from where you were to where you are now?
Well, I gotta be honest when I say I feel like I'm swimming downstream. The industry is growing very quickly. And people ask me, well, what my challenges have been. And honestly, I haven't had a lot of them. It's all come pretty easily and pretty naturally. Not to say that it's not hard work. I've owned my other business for 22 years. So I kind of knew what to expect in terms of business ownership. It's hard work. Retail is very hard. But honestly, just being in the industry at this time has been great. And I try to focus on a couple things. I mean, we want to make a unique experience here and make it a destination place. I didn't get funding for this. I bootstrapped it. I don't have millions in the bank to like go and make like a bunch of locations. So I thought, well, what can I do? I'm good at marketing and media. I can make some reels that are funny, make some posts that are entertaining, and then make our brick and mortar experience all about what I feel I missed when I gave up drinking, right? Like, I didn't miss going to like a boutique. I missed going to a liquor store, a bar, and a brewery. So we wanted to have a lot of cold drinks, a lot of things where you could come in and mix and match and try things. We wanted to have, like you said, the stuff on tap. I started with 1 tap and it grew pretty quickly. We have 8 taps now. We have 4 non-alcoholic beers, including 2 from Go Brewing. We have 2 kombuchas and 2 or 3, I forget, microdose seltzers with like hemp-derived products. And all the stuff on draft moves really well for us. But we wanted to really create that experience that we felt would be unique, and really drive people to Lafayette, because we're in a small market, right? I mean, we're not in Chicago or Indianapolis or New York or LA. I mean, we were the first people to try a concept like this in the Midwest, like and specifically like in a small market like this too. And we didn't know what to expect, but it's great to see that response of people coming on the weekends from all over. Like, we have to ask people where they come from, and probably 6 or even 7 out of 10 people on a weekend, like Saturday or Sunday, not during the week, but on the weekends, will tell us they're from, outside of Lafayette, and oftentimes even outside of Indiana. And
Wow.
that makes me feel really good that we've created a little bit of a destination place where people want to come. They always ask me too if I'll put one in their city, and I'd love to, but dude, even running one retail shop, so much work. I don't know how people do it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm too hands on the experience, and that's just because I want everything to be perfect. But for me, like a single retail shop's a lot of work. So
Yeah.
we are looking to kind of grow our exposure elsewhere, and we have a couple things in the works, but no franchises yet, but maybe in the future. We just want to try to get these out. And we don't want to move into areas that already have independent bottle shops. We're looking for more cities that would be like other like Lafayette, Indiana's that don't have any like non-alc offerings right now.
Yeah, coming from somebody that, enjoys that face-to-face experience, going to places here in Minneapolis and St. Paul that have similar type of vibe, not necessarily the stuff on draft like you guys have, which is stellar, but to be able to like get your hands on a product, compare it, look at the can art, say, all right, I'm going to try this one and this one to compare them. I'm going to have, a couple IPAs and a couple dark brews and maybe a Pilsner, and then, not have to buy in a whole 6-pack or invest in something you've never tried and pay for shipping online. Like the fact that you can go into a shop like Generation NA and do just that and, go home and try a few different things like that, especially if it's cold. Having that cold option is even better because you don't have to wait for the fridge to do its job. It's ready to go.
Absolutely, yeah. And you could drink it here on premise too. We have,
Oh,
I think, 12 seats inside. We have a small arcade and some pinball games. We have music, and we have 6 seats outside. And we're right on Main Street, so there's a little like sidewalk patio out there, and it's all about the experience, right? It's like the category gets bigger, and you can start finding these products in more like big box retail. Our challenge is how do we create that experience or evolve that experience over time to where, we're still relevant. People want to come to Generation NA, and maybe they'll spend a little bit more, not a lot more. I mean, we're very price conscious, but what do we do to get them in? And
yeah.
There a lot of that is like the on-premise stuff or the mix and match 6-packs. We have little carriers that if you mix and match a 6-pack, you get like a branded Generation NA 6-pack. You get $1 off on your first visit, and then that carrier turns into a coupon for $2 off any future visit. And
Cool.
it does 2 things, right? I mean, we don't have to buy the boxes, so it's like less trash, less waste.
Yeah.
But it also is like they fold flat. So we'll ask people if they remember their carrier, and they're like, man, I have like 12 of these in my house or in my car. It's like an advertisement, like all around people's houses and their cars.
Yeah.
It's just a reminder to come back and
For
see
sure.
us. And that's been really successful for us. In addition to like our tastings, right? Like we do free tastings, like the brands have been great. Go Brewing's been great. Obviously, Joe and Bruce and Matt, but a lot of the other brands send us a ton of product. Like I have so much in front of me in the camera. It's just, we try to get through it all. But every Friday, and we've expanded it to Saturday and Sunday now, we do free tastings on products so people can try before they buy. Even like flights, right? Like bottles of wine and spirits can get expensive. So you could try, 5 bottles of wine, 5 spirits. We have it open behind the bar. You can try it. I'm big on educating our staff on, so they know about the products, they know about the brands, they know what's local, what's low in sugar, what, different adaptogens and nootropics do. If somebody has a health concern or they're looking for a particular functional additive to that drink. But it's all about the education. It's all about the customer service and the experience. And I'm big, and we don't even have a website outside of our Instagram. So I've really, for this business, doubled down on brick and mortar retail. I think it's going to make a comeback. I think it already is making a comeback if you make it about the experience.
Yep. So curious, Rob, when you're thinking about brands, products, initiatives, like the stuff you're bringing in that is going to drive the foot traffic and get the people interested in purchasing what you have to offer, what's the most non-negotiable criteria? Like what has to be in that product to make the shelf? Because I'm assuming you don't have space for everything because there's so much out there. Like what has to happen for you to bring something in?
Yeah, that's a great question, and certainly that's changed. When we first opened, if there was a non-alc product, we'd carry it because we wanted to just have the selection. And now we're in about 1,000 square feet out there, and like maybe another 200 or 300 back here. So we're full, and there's a lot of products that are coming out. So first off, we ask for a sample. We want to try it not only with our staff, we want to try it with our customers. If they give us a 6-pack, sometimes we'll sample some. Sometimes I'll even put a couple out on the shelf to see how they move, right?
Yep.
I want to know if they move. I want to see if the branding, the packaging resonates with the customer. I also want to see what the price point is and the margin. I aim for about a 50% margin on the spirits. That's tough, but having products like our draft make up for it. Buying some of our top sellers, like our top 5 or top 10 in pallets or partial pallets, we can get our margins to average about 50%. So obviously the taste, the packaging, and the margins are 3 of the things. If it's like a hot, like adaptogen, like right now, Kava and Kana are both moving really well for us. So if it's something in that space, that automatically gets bonus points.
Sure. Got it. And you mentioned those 2 items. What other trends are you noticing with customers? I know THC and hemp-derived products are big too. How do you cater to the demands and the trends that are taking place? And what else is going on from your perspective?
Yeah, hemp-derived stuff down here is really big. Indiana is not a legal state for marijuana. We can't do that. We have to do hemp-derived THC. So a lot of people don't realize that those products are even available to them. And when they do, and a lot of times they don't realize they're not available because the only other places really around here that would even have Delta 9, Delta 8, CBD, that kind of stuff are smoke shops. And a lot of people don't really want to go and get that kind of vibe of a smoke shop. They're much more comfortable coming into a shop like Generation NA, which is more about our alternatives to alcohol, health and wellness. It just has a different vibe, right? It's a different clientele. Yeah. So a lot of people haven't realized that these products have been available and they're interested. So, we always have microdose products. We can answer questions for them. We could mix stuff into kombuchas if they're interested. It's not for everybody, but I do believe that a solid bottle shop, for us, not every bottle shop, a lot of bottle shops want to be just focusing on the sober community, and that's awesome. That's me personally. But for us to be mainstream, and that's maybe, let's say, 5 or 10% of our market, I wanted our shop to be a little bit more mainstream than that. I wanted to reach a broader audience. The sober community is still very important to me. But I'll tell you what, when we changed our sign on the outside from non-alcoholic brew shop to functional bottle shop, and all of a sudden that catered to anybody that wanted to drink, we started getting a lot more questions that were easier for us to make a sale on. Rather than people coming in and asking us like, what's the point, or I don't understand, they would ask things like, well, what's a functional drink? What can this do for me? Like, tell me more. And, it educates people that they have options other than alcohol. Like, it's not like our average consumer isn't fully sober. Percentage of them are, but a lot of people are just looking to cut back their alcohol intake. But they're also looking for options to relax with, or options that will allow them to focus or boost their mood. And we have a lot of nootropics, adaptogens, hemp, CBD. Like I said, Kava and Kana are really big right now that will do that. So we want to provide those options for people. And we're seeing a lot of that. Like when I opened, I started with mainly non-alcoholic beer and 0-proof alternatives. And it's switched in the last report I looked, our functional drink sales are about 75% of what is leaving the shop, and 25% are like the 0-proof replacements, like the beers and the wines. So it's we're trying to just evolve with what our market is, and that's not to say everybody's going to be like that in their market, but where we're at, we're kind of a younger demographic. We're seeing more, let's say 21 to 35-ish, like right after college, let's say, working professionals. They come in and they're not really looking for, like a de-alkalized bourbon, just for flavor. They're looking for a drink that will make them relaxed and not give them a hangover the next day. Where we're seeing with the, like older crowd, like I'm 45, I would say it starts about my age and like up from there. They want more of like a 0-proof replacement. They want like their IPA, their stout, their red wine, their gin. And, we cater to both. Right. And I think, that's what my challenge is to make our business mainstream to where, for some reason, when you say non-alcoholic, it could be kind of stigmatized, like people are like, oh, that's not for me. And I'm like, well, do you go into a gas station and buy a Coke? Do you go into the deli and buy an iced tea? And they're like, well, yeah. And I'm like, well, those are non-alcoholic drinks. Why wouldn't you come into a non-alcoholic bottle shop? And they're like, well, because you guys sell O'Douls. And I'm like, I don't have O'Douls. So it's educating them
Yeah.
about our business, but it's also educating them about the category and how it's changed and how it's for everybody.
Yep. That was my next question when it comes to the education and opening people's eyes to the world of, I'll label it NA, like the whole category of things that aren't alcoholic and or you know, in that realm. Like, what's the biggest thing you make sure people know? Like, what sways them to come and actually buy something? Like, what's the biggest thing?
So me being a tech guy, I automatically optimized our bottle shop on Google and
Oh, nice.
elsewhere for like liquor store, beer store. Like we show up like number one or number two in our city for like people looking. So all day long we get people that come in intentionally. Oh, do you have, I don't know, Jameson or Miller Lite or whatever, like non-alcoholic shop. And they're immediately annoyed and they turn and they're like, oh, sorry, this shop isn't for me. And I got about maybe 20 seconds before they hit that door. And I'm like, you know what? We do, kava, CBD, we have some microdose stuff, adaptogens, nootropics. You look and you relax, and they're like, "You have what?" Usually, one of those things kind of catches their mind. And they're like, "You have CBD drinks? You have kava? I heard about that on a podcast. Tell me more."
Yeah.
And then so they'll leave with a 6-pack, and they're like, "I'm still gonna go to the liquor store, but I'm also gonna come here and start buying." And that's like our customer, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't care if they go to the liquor store. I just want them to know they have options and they can come and see us as
Yep.
well as their favorite alcoholic bottle shop. But I want them to know that we have the technology to make them feel like they fit in. They can socialize. We have the drinks. They can relax with the drinks.
Yep.
They're more natural. I mean, let's be honest, like putting ethanol in your body is not a great thing for your health. I think everybody knows that, at this point, but some people just, kind of look the other way. So we want a more natural option, and we want to kind of take away the power that alcohol has where it's the only option to relax with. Because, I'll ask them, well, why do you drink? And they'll tell me, I don't know, they want to relax or they want to socialize or because their friends do it or whatever. And whatever they say, we can have an answer for, and we have a drink that is the same or honestly better than what they're drinking. So it all really comes down to education on that.
Definitely. Yeah, so I'm 5 years alcohol free, and I went 4 without trying an alcohol substitute or NA beverage. Or I guess, like, I mean, soda and Arnie Palmer's are NA, but like, you know what I mean? Like an adult beverage that's not alcoholic. And when I stumbled upon it, it was like a game changer because I didn't know that this world was out there and that it was growing so fast. And I think the coolest thing about like your shop is somebody in my shoes that's on, month 1 or month 4, not necessarily going through to year 4 to try something. They can have a replacement sooner in their journey, and it might help them to stick with it. Like, look at Tom Holland with Bira. Like, he started the brand because of the replacement he was able to have during the beginning parts of his sober journey. And for many people, that's a thing. And I think it's so cool that like Generation NA is allowing that to be a more attainable part of their process. And I think it's the way of the future. I think people are going to be gravitating towards this side of the beverage world more and more as time goes on.
Yeah. And I always like to remind people, it's not just about the beverages. It's about having a third place, a space that they can come. It's not their work, it's not their house. It's not just another coffee shop. It's something that is unique that they can come and hang out with their friends and not worry about alcohol, and they can socialize. And I think the more people do that, the more that they realize it was never about the alcohol, right? It was about, a lot of times, I know with me specifically, I learned when I stopped drinking, I used to do a lot of things I hated, and I just powered through it. I pre-drank to get through it. I don't really like crowds of people and going to like sporting events, but I love sports, so I still go. But I learned a lot more about myself and who I was, and I was just kind of masking it before. So I think it's cool to provide a spot like Generation NA for our community. And I know there's so many other great independent bottle shops out there doing the same thing for their community. And it's just something that's needed, I think, other than just the beverages themselves.
Totally. And I think you hit the nail on the head there with the experience portion and like the third space. Because when I stopped drinking, you're out with friends at happy hour and you're the lone dude drinking a water and everybody's like, why aren't you drinking? It's like, well, I'm drinking. It's just that I don't drink alcohol. And it was, people were dumbfounded when I stopped drinking years ago, and they're like, they couldn't wrap their head around why a 29-year-old guy wouldn't be drinking alcohol. And now, even if it's Heineken, like if I'm at a spot and they just have a Heineken 0.0, I get to have something in my hand that is beer. And because that's what I enjoy. I love NA beer. And they may or may not ask me the question because they'll be like, oh, he's having a beer. And that's okay. Like, he's doing his thing. It's just made it so much easier having the viable option of something that isn't alcoholic, but still tastes good and still, kind of scratches the itch of a beer for me. And it's made the last, year of consuming various beverages and trying new things so much more enjoyable.
Absolutely. And I think it's cool that there's a lot of celebrities and influencers getting into the space. The more that we can make this cool, or at least accepted, and less like, it's weird, right? I mean, alcohol is the only drug that you have to justify not taking. Nobody else would do that for any other drug. Like, you're not shooting up. You're not doing coke. Come on, man. But you get guys like Tom Holland, Danny Trejo, Dax Shepard, Carl Radke, Katy Perry. I mean, you get a lot of these celebrities that are in the space. And I know some people are kind of like, here we go with the celebrities. But I think it really helps the space in the destigmatizing not having alcohol, right? And going out and socializing it. And you can enjoy your life. And it is better. We're not just saying it's better. Like, it honestly can be better. Now, I mean, some people could go out and just have one or two beers and be fine, but I had to drink a lot. I liked it. So whenever I drank, I would always be hungover. So my life was like so much better without the hangovers. Now I can do more. Both of my businesses are more successful. I'm able to spend more time with my family. I'm not hungover, so I can enjoy my kids and do the things that I want to do with them and be a better business owner and a better husband. And to me, like, even without, like, I mean, just being able to help other people more, that's enough of a reason. I mean, the other cool thing is, like, my anxiety is basically wiped away. Like, I used to have such bad anxiety, dude. I could barely leave the house. And that, I mean, essentially just kind of melted away. And I mean, you can take just, one of those things, one of the benefits, and it's worth it. But when you combine it all together, if you really like write out all the pros and cons of drinking, it's not going to win. Nobody's going to go back.
It's a win-win equation. And I think you touched on something there where it's like the realization that people kind of come to when they figure out the fix, and the fix is replacing alcohol with something you like. And I've had, I think, 24,000 views on my YouTube channel, which isn't a lot compared to other channels. But for me, coming from scratch and nothing, like, I think if 24,000 views nets me, 5 to 10 people that maybe thought about not drinking, I changed 5 to 10 people's lives by just talking to the camera for a year. That's pretty cool. Like, and you're doing the same thing from the perspective of people swinging by, asking why would I do this? And then you giving them that education piece, and then walking out with a 6-pack and maybe drinking a little bit less the next weekend. Like, it's so positive. And that's part of what I love about this community that's being built around NA beverages, or not, alcohol-free beverages, is it's just so positive. It's so uplifting.
Dude, every brand that we've worked with has been amazing to work with in the space. And I can't say that in my other job. Usually, in IT, like, we do like servers and emails. Usually people like call to complain. But people are genuinely excited to come into the shop. They don't even know that these options exist. And it's sometimes the reaction and hearing their stories about how the shop has really helped them out is really what fuels us. But it's like taking a kid to Disney, man. Like, I mean, their eyes get really big and they're like, well, is it all non-alcoholic? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, what about that? And they like point to the spirits. I'm like, it's all non-alcoholic. You can have anything in the shop. It's all under 0.5, and they're just blown away.
Yep.
And it's cool. Like it never gets old. Like we always get somebody every day that's like new for the first time, and
Yep.
they don't even realize that there's this many options available. And it's cool, man. It's pretty fun. I should get like a hidden camera show and people's reactions.
I've been doing Go Brewing ambassador work here in Minnesota for about 6 months now, and one of my favorite parts is when someone tries one of the Go Brewing beers, and they're like, "Wait, this doesn't have alcohol in it." Really? Like they're surprised that something can taste so similar and not have, you know, the negative side effects or the anything that alcohol brings into the equation. That's still one of the more fun parts of that whole you know, part of my my side, you know, venture. I don't know. I'm sure you have similar situations where people are at they get a draft pull of a Go Brewing or one of the other beverages, and they're like, "Whoa, that doesn't have alcohol in it." Wow. Are you get that as well?
My favorite story is we did a beer festival earlier this summer, and actually we ended up making a reel out of it because a guy came up to me at the end that was working the festival, and he's like, "Somebody told me this beer doesn't have alcohol in it," and we were serving them Go Brewing, and there were a couple other brands,
Yeah.
but it was a lot of Go Brewing, and I was like, "Yeah, dude, it's non-alcoholic." And the great thing is like he wasn't mad, but he wasn't like happy about it, but he was like not slurring his speech. He was totally sober at the end of this beer festival. And he's like, "Man, I had no idea it tasted so good." Like he was not upset, but it was really funny to get his honest, genuine reaction that he had no idea, and he thought it was really cool that we were able to kind of almost like pull one over on him.
Yeah, that's funny. Speaking of Go Brewing, I pulled out the new cans. I've got 4 of the 5 that are new, just for the fans out there. We've got the Sunbeam Pills with the Space Explorer or Astronaut. I suppose it's probably an astronaut. The New School Sour with some berries on it. We have the Not Just Another Story double IPA, and then the Iguana, which is here on the Sunshine State, which is what you're drinking there. I love the new can art. Customers love the new can art. I think it sells the brand for, you know, much easier than if it was, you know, a little bit more, you know, mainstream. And I'm just, you know, excited that, you know, being affiliated with Go Brewing has been such a cool experience. And I know you're close with Joe, and you guys have them on draft. Like when you get someone to experience a draft pull of an NA beer, like what's that like? Because I've only had it on draft a couple times. Is it a different reaction than when they go and grab a can, or is it not really that big of a difference?
It's different. I mean, flavor wise, I mean, you and I would be able to tell a little bit of a difference. The average person may not be able to tell, but I'll tell you what you can tell. You walk into a shop and people are pouring that tap handle back. It adds another element of what you miss when you were out drinking. And that part of it is what makes it really special to me. So it's more about like the visual aid, I guess, you know, and just making sure people can scratch that itch. And we didn't have draft when I opened. I actually went up to Go Brewing. There was like a Toad in the Wet Sprocket show I got invited to. And I went up to the bar and I was like, where are the NAs? I knew they would have some, but I figured they'd have maybe a couple. Yeah. And they turned around and they were like, it's all NA. You can have anything you want. I'm like, you guys have like 12 taps back there. And they're like, yeah. And it like unlocked this like memory or this like feeling of when I was at the bar, because I was probably 2 years sober, 1.5 years sober at the time. And I was like, dude, like, I'm going to have a lot of beer tonight and get it on draft. And it was really a fun experience. So that's when I was like, my shop is missing something. Yeah. It's missing this experience. And I want to bring this to Lafayette. Joe did an awesome job. Other than like athletic, I think Joe was like the first to have like a non-alc like tap room that I know of at least. And it was a really cool experience. And so I took a little bit of that. I borrowed a little bit from Joe, but he got the idea for the double IPA from me. So we heard that. We give each other favors back and forth.
This is the story. They call it the story now. The story double IPA.
Yeah. If you want to hear a real quick rundown of that, so he called me up one day.
What do you got?
He's like, Rob. He's like, what should I make? Like, what's moving? And I was like, dude, we get a lot of people that come in and ask what our hoppiest beer is, but I don't have like anything that really. I have a lot of IPAs, but none of them are really like that much hoppier than others. And two roots. they made the Resin Riot, but they weren't making it anymore. And then unfortunately, like they closed their doors. But we had the Resin Riot, which was their double IPA, and I think the first or the only one I knew about on the market at the time. And it sold really well because I could say this is our hoppiest beer that we have, this Resin Riot. So I gave Joe the idea, and he's like, all right, I took it back, and they came up with an amazing beer. I got to sample it at a tour before it was like, canned or whatever.
Yeah.
It blew away my expectations of anything. It was better than what the other double IPAs I'd had were. And yeah, so now, when someone comes in and I can say, well, what's our hoppiest beer? We have a double IPA from Go.
Definitely. Yeah, I think another fun part about being able to do samplings and tastings locally is people question it. They're like, wait, this has, strawberry and blueberry puree in it? And it's like, yeah, it sits on puree for 5 days and it adds that extra element, and then it goes to the bright tank and it has extra carbonation, and it's all for the experience of you tasting this beer and thinking it's more than it really is meant to be. It tastes like a true beer. It tastes like an alcoholic beer. And I think you were talking about earlier that sour profile. Like, could you maybe re-describe what you talked about with the experience you've had with the sours?
Absolutely. Yeah, and the sours are always popular. Go Brewing's New School Sour, the blueberry and strawberry, is usually the most popular one. If we do an outdoor beer festival in the summer, that's usually the one that we pour the most of. And to me, like sours in general in the space give you that additional mouthfeel, right? It gives you something more than just a flavor. It gives you that additional feeling or experience in your mouth that, a lot of people are looking for. And that's why I think sours are like, a pretty popular part of the category. Not a lot of people like sours, but the ones that do, like, we're selling a lot of them. And even in, colder weather, they're moving. It just gives you a little bit more of that mouthfeel experience.
Yep. Yeah, when I do tastings and people come by the table and they're like, I don't like beer, and they're in a non-alcoholic bottle shop, so they know that they're there to try, NA beverages. I'm like, hey, just take a sip of this sour. It doesn't taste like beer. 9 times out of 10, people are like, wow, I like that. That's really good. Because it scratches the itch of a beer, but it also scratches the same itch of like somebody that might want just a little bit of fruity flavor and carbonation. Like it covers the bases. And with only 3.2 grams of sugar and like 60-ish calories, it's kind of the panacea. Like for me, when I talk to people and tell them about Go Brewing, I'm like, this is my favorite for so many reasons. Like, you guys should probably bring this in. People are gonna like it. Even if you're in Minnesota in the winter, having the sour is still gonna sell, in my opinion, because it scratches the itch.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. Yeah, I'm excited to see what Go comes out with next. I know they got some things in the works that we're gonna be bringing in. So Joe is great at what he does. His ideas. Well, Joe and the whole team, Bruce, Matt. I know their lead brewer out there. I think they got from like Lagunitas. He's doing an amazing job. But kudos to those guys for always just wanting to make a better product. I know even like the Street Cred Bold, right? They had it. They weren't happy with it, so they redid it. They don't just settle for like an average product. Like he wants to have some of the best products that are out there.
Definitely. Well, I'm going to close on one question, Rob. How do you see the space evolving in the next 5 years, and what is your shop going to do? I know you said you're looking at some opportunities, but like, without naming names or anything, like what's next? What do you see happening? I know there's a lot of trends that are taking place at the moment, like you mentioned, but in 5 years, where do you see the space?
Yeah, so it's going to get really big, really fast. And we're going to see a lot of people survive and a lot of people that don't. There's already been bottle shops and brands that have closed down, and it's going to get a lot more cutthroat. And so making sure that you're in a position of strength will mean that you will come out stronger, right? Doesn't mean you have to be the biggest brand or the richest brand. You have to find your niche, do what you do well. I feel that we're pretty well positioned for that. And that doesn't mean that somebody with, a ton more resources or connections or money could come in and disrupt it, because I'm sure that's going to happen. But controlling what we can control here and giving people that experience, giving them that selection, making sure that we're bringing in brands to our community, focusing on giving back, just doing what we can, like in our ecosphere here, and trying to attract people in. But I think the functional space is going to go. Non-alc in general is going to be going to be huge. I mean, you take a look at the trends and what Gen Z is doing. They forecasted it out to 2030, 2035. I don't know how they could forecast it that far out, but
Yeah.
I think anything they forecast is going to be, I think it's going to far exceed those numbers. I think people are going to be pretty surprised. And we're starting to see that now. I mean, if there's a brewery out there that doesn't have a non-alc offering, they're almost considered behind the times, you know, at this point. So it's gonna get big really quick, and I don't know, it's gonna be pretty crazy. We're we're wanting to maybe get into doing a little bit of wholesale and distribution up here, but
Oh, sure.
there's some big names kind of in the space too. I'm kind of seeing how that shakes out first, and how deep we want to get involved with that, and if we want to get involved with that. I mean, another route we could go is to make our own beverages. We've done a couple. We did a collab beverage with Purdue University.
Cool.
We've done some with People's Brewing Company local. We love those guys and Chris over there. And the cool thing about us is we have 3 years almost of data now. If you put 500 SKUs together, what do people buy? What do they ask for? What are they willing to spend on it? What are people returning to buy? Not just single purchases. Like, we have a lot of great data to develop our own beverages or work with companies to develop beverages in the space. And honestly, I like that. But what I really like is really what I went to school for, is the marketing side of things. Like, I love growing our social media channels.
Yep.
I love working on our SEO to make sure people still keep coming in and asking for Miller Lite, so I can tell them about our CBD drinks. But I don't know, it's going to get big, but I'm going to try to stay in my lane as much as I can, and not grow too quick. Not like pop up like 30 stores in a year or anything crazy like that, because there's a lot of opportunity out there, right? But there's a lot of risk, and I think people that take risks are cool. I mean, they could do that. I'm not looking to grow like my workload like that much. Like, I have a bunch of work with just my single brick and mortar retail shop, so I'm very content with where we are as a brand and a business. And I think genuinely, I don't know why, I think people kind of like our brand. They like us as people and what we do, and we try to keep it real. And I think that can kind of go a long way, rather than trying to get as big as we can and trying to make as much money as we can. I mean, we just, at the end of the day, we want to help people. Like, we want people to come in and tell us that they just made a month sober or a year sober, and like, our shop like made it so much easier for them, and they don't know what they would be doing without us. And these are things that people tell us like pretty regularly, that without Generation NA, they don't know. And that's why we do it. That's why I like being in space.
You're hitting it home, Rob. I think being able to help people, but also spread the word of drinks and beverages and products that you love, and providing that third space where people can collaborate and join with friends and family, and be in a positive setting. I think the positivity that is stemming from the non-alc scene and initiative that people are pushing forward in the market is the good part. It's only going up. People coming on board that are going to help push it is exciting. I want to get down to Generation A at some point. I want to take like a tour of the whole country and just visit all the cool shops. I think that's like a bucket list trip for me.
Yeah, you got to check out Laura Silverman's map with Zero Food Station. She has it all. I mean, there's probably a couple other maps, but that one's, I think, the best that I've seen.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate your time, Rob. I know you're busy. You got a lot going on. Everybody that watched, thanks for watching. I know we hit about 45 minutes here, so if you're watching to the end, thank you. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And thanks everybody for your time.
Thanks. Sorry I talk a lot. It's kind of long, but hopefully it wasn't boring.
It was great, Rob. Thank you.